Okay, Assalamualaikum. Our next topic is test for the constancy of the error variance. So before this, you have learned how to see whether the error variance is constant or not using the graphical method, which is residual versus fitted or residual versus x graph, right? So from there you can see whether the error variance is constant or not, which the constancy of the error variance is one of the assumption uh, to need to be fulfilled before we proceed with regression analysis. So another method is using the test. Okay, ianya dinamakan Brown-Forsythe test. Okay, I believe that you all pernah dengar this Brown-Forsythe test in diploma level. Okay, so in this level, again, you need to know how to do ataupun the procedure ataupun the steps uh, to conduct the Brown-Forsythe test. Okay, so the Brown-Forsythe test is the modification of the Levin test. Okay, which it does not depend on the normality of the error terms. Okay, dalam your textbook you can see in page 117. Okay, you can refer page 117, 116 and 117. Okay, so to conduct the Brown-Forsythe test, the sample size needs to be large enough so that the dependencies among the residual can be ignored. Okay, so in the procedure of the Brown-Forsythe also we need to distribute the data into two parts. So the sample size needed should be large enough lah. The test is based on the variability of the residual. The larger the error variance, the larger the variability of the residual will tend to be. Okay, sebab nanti dalam dia punya step juga kita kena kira the residual first. We need to have the residual first before we can proceed with the test. Then to conduct the Brown-Forsythe test, we divide the data set into two groups, which is according to the level of X. So you need to arrange the data set according to the level of X, but bring along the Y lah, so that the one group consists of cases where X level is comparatively low and the other group consists of cases where the X level is comparatively high. So kena divide by two parts, which is the first part of data should be arranged with the low value ataupun low groups of X level, and the other group should be for the higher group of X level. Okay, and then we utilize the absolute deviation of the residual around the median for the group. Okay, so after we divide the group into two groups, and then we need to find the residual for each groups. Okay, you know how to find the residual, which is the observation yi minus dengan predictive value y hat. So of course you need to find the y hat, which is the regression line ataupun regression function for each part, low dan juga high. And then once we have the residual, we need to find the median. Sebab kita nak cari absolute deviation of the residual around the median. Okay, kita kena cari deviation, residual and its median. So kena cari median of the residual. Okay, median untuk residual for each groups. And then The Brown-Forsythe test can consist simply of the two sample t-tests based on the test statistic. So, kita akan gunakan t-test statistic to determine whether the mean of the absolute deviation for one group differs significantly from the mean absolute deviation for the second group. So, dalam test statistik punya formula akan ada deviation between the two absolute value, two absolute deviation. Okay. Although the distribution of the absolute deviation of the residual is usually not normal, it has been shown that the t-test statistic will follow approximately the t distribution when the variance of the error term is constant and the sample size of the two groups are extremely small. So, bila kita dah divide into two groups, so the sample size will be smaller, right? And then now we can use the residual for the first group to denote the ith residual for the group 1, okay, and residual for group 2, which is EI2, denote the ith residual for group 2. And then we also use N1 and N2 to denote the sample size for the two groups. Okay. And then N adalah N1 plus N2. Okay, because of we divided the N observation into two groups of data, jadi N1 dan N2. Okay. And then, okay, this is the formula of the test statistic. So in order to find this test statistic, okay, we need to find the D1 bar and D2 bar, which is DI1 adalah the absolute deviation between the residual and its median. Median untuk grup pertama. Okay, so you akan dapat nilai D for every observation. Untuk dapatkan D1 will be okay, D1 bar will be summation of DI1 divide dengan N lah. Total of each of D, okay, divide dengan N1. Okay, D2 bar pula adalah summation of DI2, okay, total of the absolute deviation of the observation from the second group. Okay, total of that divide dengan N2. Okay, untuk dapatkan D1 bar dan D2 bar. Okay, so before that, you kena cari dulu residual for each observation for the both group. Dan juga, of course, untuk cari EI1 kan, it is YI minus YI hat untuk first group. So, kena cari dulu regression line for first group dan juga regression line for the second group pun kena cari. Kena cari regression line for the second group untuk dapatkan nilai residual. And then once we have each of the residual, kena cari median. Median untuk group pertama dan median untuk group kedua. Okay, median adalah middle value kan of the data. Okay, and then we apply the formula, formula of the test statistic, t-test statistic, to check whether we are accept hash note ataupun reject hash note, which is the hash note will be the error variance is constant. And hash 1 adalah error variance not constant. Okay, error variance is constant. Nama lainnya adalah homoscedasticity. Error variance not constant. Nama lainnya adalah heteroscedasticity. Okay, So, tengok lagi dia punya formula. In this formula, we have S here. This is the formula for S. You need to memorize this. Okay, to find the value of S square, we need the value of summation di1 minus d1 bar square dan juga summation of di2 minus d2 bar square. Okey, dah ada D tadi untuk setiap observation, kena tolak dengan X min dan square. So, you need another column untuk cari DI1 minus D1 bar square for every observation. Then total up baru you akan dapat this part. Sama juga untuk the second group. Okay, divide dengan N minus 2 and here adalah N1 plus N2 lah, which mean all the sample size. Okay. So, multiply dengan square root of 1 over N1 plus 1 over N2. Okay, if the error terms are constant variance and N1 and N2 are not extremely small, the T statistic follow approximately the T distribution with N minus 2 degree of freedom. Large absolute values of T statistic indicate that the error term do not have a constant variance. Means that we can compare to make the decision about this test statistic. We need to compare this test statistic with the critical value from the T table, which is T alpha over 2 N minus 2. Okay. Okay, so kita akan reject hash not if. Saya pada sekejap. Okay, reject hash not if T statistic absolute value of the T statistic more than T alpha over 2 N minus 2. Critical value from the T table with N minus 2 degree of freedom. So if we reject hash not, means that the error terms are do not have the constant variance. The error term is not constant if we reject hash not. Okay, if we fail to reject hash not, we can say that the error terms having the constant variance. Okay, let's see the example. Okay, we wish to use the brown Forsythe price for the Taluka company example from the previous chapter to determine whether or not the error term variance varies with the level of X. Since the X levels are spread fairly uniformly, we divide 25 cases into two groups with approximately equal to X ranges. The first group consists of 13 runs with lot size from 20 to 70, and the second group consists of the 12 runs with lot size of 80 to 120. So first step, you need to divide the sample size into two groups, which having the first group will be comparatively low group and the higher group will be comparatively the second group will be comparatively from the higher value of X. So from here we have two groups kena arrangekan, okay, daripada mengikut X level and then bring along the value of Y. Okay, bring along the value of Y. Kalau kat sini, ini adalah Y, ini adalah X. So, all the X here, levelnya daripada 20 sehingga 70 and you bring along your Y lah untuk you put the observation here. Okay. Sorry, what run ni bukan Y. Run ni adalah number of apa ni, data asal. Okay, maksudnya kat sini 14 di sini adalah data asalnya adalah this observation X. This observation X adalah observation yang ke-14. Tapi dia berada di, now it being grouped in the first group because of the X level is 20. Okay. So actually we should have the value of Y. We should have the value of Y. Satu lagi kat sini. Kenapa? Sebab kita nak cari residual. Kita nak cari residual. Okay. Okay, nak cari residual. Okay, saya silap cakap tadi sikit. Okay, Y. Di sini, Y di sini. Untuk cari, untuk nak cari untuk nak cari E, we need only one Y hat sahaja. We need only one Y hat sahaja. Okay. So, we set here untuk dapatkan residual for the second group. Each of that adalah yi2 minus dengan y hat I. Okay, so means that we have n set of data, semua sekali n1 plus n2. Cari dia punya value of y hat. Okay, cari dia punya value of y hat. And then untuk dapatkan residual ni adalah macam biasa, yi hat minus yi, sorry. Okay, yi minus y hat. Okay, untuk dapatkan residual. So, apa ni? Arrange the residual according to the groups of X tadi. Okay, so once we have the EI for the first group and the second group, okay, and then we need to calculate the value of DI1 dan DI2. We need to have this column untuk nak cari value of D1 bar, N2 bar, and also the summation of DI1 minus D1 bar square. Okay, we go one by one. So once we have the residual, we need to find the median because of, in order to find the DI1, okay, the formula is, tadi kan, the formula adalah EI1 minus dengan E tilde 1. Maksudnya the median for the first group. So daripada E kat sini, we have 13E here. Okay, you should find one value which is the median value of the residual. So residual kat sini can be negative and can be positive value. Arrange that. Then you akan dapat nilai median. Okay, so median kat sini will be negative 19.88. So we can use this median for the residual to find the DI1, which is, it is the absolute value of EI1 minus dengan the median of the first group. Okay, so this column should be all the value is positive sebab ianya adalah absolute value. Okay, and then untuk dapatkan D1 bar, how to find this adalah total of DI1 divide dengan N1, which is 13. You akan dapat this value. Okay, and then we need this column DI1 minus D1 bar square untuk cari S pool tadi kan, S square pool tadi. So we need this value for each row. Then total of that we will use to find the value of S square here. Alright, so that is the step that you need to do. So do it for both of the groups. Okay, and then we can apply the formula of T. Okay, before that nak cari value of S square. So we need that column tadi. Okay, summation of these two, okay, of these two, untuk cari S square here, right? This and this, bahagi dengan n minus 2, n 25 minus dengan 2, dapatlah value of S square. And then apply the formula of test statistic T, which is here D1 bar. This is D1 bar, sorry, here. Dengan D2 bar, which is the total of column DI1 tadi, bahagi dengan N1. And this one, D2 bar adalah total of DI2 divide dengan N2. Okay, so we put here these two. Divide dengan S, di sini standard deviation bukan variance, standard deviation, square root of 1 over N1 plus 1 over N2. So we'll get the test statistic. And to see whether we reject or fail to reject hash knot, we compare it with the critical value from T table with degree of freedom n minus 2. So dekat sini dia gunakan table belakang. So it will be 1 minus alpha over 2, which is 0.025. So kalau you gunakan table merah, it just 0.05 divided by 2, 0.025, and degree of freedom is 23, then you will get the same answer. So here, since that the absolute value of the test statistic, which is 1.32, is less than the value of critical from the critical table, so we can say that, okay, because of this is the conclusion. So we conclude that the error variance is constant because we fail to reject hash knot. So we conclude that the error variance is constant and does not vary with the level of X. Okay, so maksudnya the error we have the homoscedasticity situation. Okay, so that is the way ataupun the method to conduct the Brown-Forsythe test. Okay, let's see the example. One example. Okay, so this is the hypothesis. This is a step. First, divide the data into 2 or more groups. Okay, so biasanya kita, in this case, kita divide into 2 groups only for your level, for degree level. Okay, and then find the residual, denoted it as E, and then find the median for the residual, and then find the D for each group, and then apply the test statistic formula dan juga S-pool. Okay, let's see the example. This is the data that we have. We have Y, then we have X. X column, then Y column. Okay, so first what we need to do is separatekan with 2 groups. So kata kat sini, divide the data into 2 groups. Okay, in this case, GPA between 0 to 2.49 is assumed to be in low group, and a GPA between 2.5 until 4 in high group. So we have 2 group, low group and high group. Here our data is about the GPA dan juga college GPA dan high school GPA. So from here, high school is Y, so means that high school GPA, Y ni should be college lah, kan? College GPA lah sepatutnya kat sini. Okay, so means that here college GPA is depend on the high school GPA. Okay, so make sure, okay, you nak divide the groups according to X level, bukan Y, okay, but bring along the Y. Okay, so we divide the group into two X with X level low dan X level high. Okay, bring along the Y. Okay. So first thing first, apa yang kena buat adalah nak cari residual, kena ada Y, I hat ni, Y, I hat for each. So you kena cari regression line. Kena cari regression line. Regression function first. Okay, so apply using calculator. Masukkan value X dan value Y. Go to mode regression first, right? And then key in all the value. M plus. Okay, to key in the value, remember you masukkan dulu X, lepas tu YX, Y. Dan tekan M plus. Okay, nak cari Y hat ni, you key in the data all together, all the data. So kat sini kita ada 20 data, all 20 data, key in untuk dapatkan Y hat. Kita hanya akan ada only a single Y hat, maksudnya a single regression equation sahaja. We will use that equation untuk nak cari residual for both group. Okay. So we'll have the Y hat is 0.6636. Okay, the B is 0.7213x. Okay, so kena dapatkan residual for each observation, which is kena dapatkan predicted dulu, yes. Kena dapatkan Y, I hat for each of these observation, and then dapatkan residual, which is Y I observation, Y I minus dengan Y I hat. Okay, so find the predicted value for each Y. Okay, and then dapatkan residual for each observation here. So replace all the x here, each of these x dalam this equation untuk dapatkan y I hat. Right?